Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be upstanding for the worship of the Mayor of Dudley, Councillor David Stanley.
Good evening, members of the Council. Please be seated. This meeting is being live streamed on the internet and recorded for future viewing. Photographs may also be taken during the meeting. Could everyone please ensure that mobile devices are either switched off or turned to silent? I'll give you time to do that. Not many hands going about, so I think it's already done. Therefore, we'll move on. The election of the Mayor for the year 2021 to 2022, I call for nominations. It's a...
Councillor Andy Ward, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any other nominations? Does any other member wish to speak on the nomination? There's no such on here. Yeah. Oh, no, a seconder. Councillor Vicker, sorry, yeah. Mr. Lynott, that's normal for me though, isn't it? I'll go back then to the last. Does any other member wish to speak on the nomination? Therefore, as there are no other nominations, I hereby declare that Councillor Anne Millward has been duly elected as Mayor of the Borough for 2021-2022.
Madam Mayor, may I ask you to make and subscribe to the Declaration of Acceptance of Office? Yes, please.
I, Anne Elizabeth Millward, née Saunders, having been elected to the office of Mayor of Dudley, Metropolitan Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to comply with the Members' Code of Conduct in the performance of my functions.
Congratulations, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Election of the Deputy Mayor for the 2021-2022 municipal year. I call for nominations.
Madam Mayor, I nominate Councillor Sue Greenaway.
Thank you. Is the nomination seconded? Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak on the nomination? Are there any other nominations? I hereby declare that Councillor Sue Greenaway has been elected as Deputy Mayor of the Borough for 2021-22. Members of the Council, So we have a round of applause for Sue. Members of the Council, there will now be a short adjournment to enable robing to take place. So could members please remain seated during the adjournment? Thank you.
Members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Worshipful the Mayor of Dudley, Councillor Anne Millward.
Please be seated.
I call upon Councillor Sue Greenaway to make and subscribe the Declaration of Acceptance of Office of Deputy Mayor.
I, Susan Louisa Greenaway, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Dudley Metropolitan Borough Council, declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to comply with the Members' Code of Conduct in the performance of my duties. Functions.
Congratulations, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Wow. What can I say? It's very rare that I'm lost for words, as you will all know. But this is such an honour and a privilege to me tonight and to my family. It's rather a bittersweet moment as well, because two people who I love more than life itself are not here to see it. My wonderful parents, my mum and dad. And I like to think that they're probably standing over there somewhere looking at me and smiling on. And my mum, fit to burst with pride. And my father, if you knew him, with his usual sardonic and laid-back sense of humour. I always knew you were a right mayor. And I can't disagree with that, and many of you in this hall tonight will probably concur. Now, not many people know that I am an absolute massive science fiction fan. From the writings of Ray Bradbury and his short stories, to Grant and Naylor, who created Red Dwarf, the original Star Trek, but my favourite of all, Star Wars. And as I was being robed, I thought of the throne room scene, and I was playing in my head as I walked back, the Victory March, where Princess Leia gives the medals to Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Chewbacca. I hope I don't look like Chewbacca, I have had a shave. And I was thinking of that moment, and it's from one of my favourite films in the whole of the series, A New Hope. A New Hope. And that's what I want for this mayoral year, for my mayoral year. We've just come through, well, hopefully we're coming to the end, of a worldwide pandemic that has killed millions of people, has ruined the health of hundreds of thousands of people, has decimated some communities, and we look at India, for example, of what's happening there. It's interrupted children's education. It's made people, people have become bereaved. People have found that they can't see their relatives in care homes. Grandparents haven't seen grandchildren. Jobs have been lost. Businesses have been decimated. We now need, as a borough, and we have risen to this occasion with aplomb. It's been fabulous, the work that has been done in this borough and other boroughs around the country to help people and to help communities. And over the next 12 months, I want to bring to our communities a hope And that's why I'm going to go slightly off script to Steve Griffiths. He's probably having a fit down there. Sorry, Steve. I'm going to mention my charities. One of my charities will be the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. That's as a legacy to the late Duke, and it's about young people and empowering them and the wonderful opportunities they can have through the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. I wished I'd done it when I was at school. My school, unfortunately, did not do that, but they do now. The second charity will be Dudley Mind, and that is to support people with mental health. And we do know from reports this week, young people are presenting in unprecedented numbers for self-harm, suicide attempts, and it's not just young people. The loneliness of this pandemic has affected a lot of people. And I'm not ashamed to say that my mental health at times has been unwell. And what I want to do is to empower people to come forward to say, and stand with me to say, it's okay not to be okay. And we need to reach out as a council and as councillors and as a borough to help everybody that has suffered with mental health and to help them. And thirdly, and this is a new thing, I want to set up what is known as a community fund. And the Chief Executive is going to help me with that. So it's there in perpetuity for further mayors to use. And this is where everyone in this room comes in. We're all aware of small community groups within our wards, moms and toddlers, knit and natter, self-help groups for mental health, voluntary youth clubs. Also, also if I may go on, the groups that set up the Christmas lights switch on, who organise carnivals, St George's events. A lot of these groups will have folded, will have floundered during COVID. And we want to be there. I want money raised to help those little groups, rather like Area Forum, but a bit more personal. And I know in this room tonight there are some wonderful people. People who mountaineer, Steve Waltho who runs, Simon Phipps who runs and walks, Judy Foster who runs, Mo Hanif who sets up the cricket teams, Shaz Salim with his foundation. I want all of you and those who can bake cakes and hold coffee mornings to come together with me on this journey of a new hope for our borough. Raise money for these communities to help me raise money for our community. So, ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests and non-binary guests, please come with me. I can't do this on my own. I want you all to help. So that's the end of my speech. Thank you. Now, I would like to call upon Councillors Patrick Harley and Councillor Zada and others to pay tribute to the retiring Mayor and Mayor's consort. Now, be nice. Councillor Harley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, what can we... First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved, and I know that your parents would be extremely proud of this evening and what you've achieved. Well, Councillor Stanley, what can we say? He's never lost for words, and a couple of words will never do with Councillor Stanley. He'll have you standing there talking for as long as he'd like. But what a period as mayor of this borough. You will go down in history, Councillor Stanley, as the only mayor to have served 3 terms of office. And that is something that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when school children walk in that foyer on the way to the mayor's parlour for a tour, they will look at the wall and say, well, how come this gentleman did 3 years? And future mayors in the future, probably none of us are here in this hall, the mayor of that day will be able to recall the story of how you served a second successive year due to the pandemic. And I have to say, you've chaired meetings with a degree of dignity and respect on what has been a difficult time, because no party has had an outright majority, and it takes a great skill to do that without any furore, and I think you've done that absolutely remarkably. So on behalf of all members, thank you very much. Your local knowledge of Dudley, and in particular the mayoralty and the coat of arms and all the other mayoral regalia, is second to none. Even as recently as last week at the new members induction, the outgoing mayor had new members absolutely spellbound with his very detailed description of some of the regalia that the mayor has around his or her neck at time to time. And it is that attention to detail and great knowledge. And this is a message to the chief exec, if we ever need to employ someone as a tour guide around this town hall, then Councillor Stanley is your man, because his knowledge is absolutely second to none. What also is second to none, Madam Mayor, is Councillor Stanley's commitment to this borough. Through and through, he is committed to it. I've lost count of the times that he's knocked on my door as leader of the council and bemoaned the fact about either a lack of regeneration, a lack of car parking, the state of the roads, the buzzes. You know, he has a keen interest in the things that matter to the people of this borough, and he's not afraid to speak out on them. And long may he do so. And finally, Madam Mayor, through you, Councillor Stanley has served 3 terms now as mayor, 2 consecutively. I can't think of a more fitting gift that the people of this borough can give him than to have just re-elected him with, I think, probably the largest majority he has ever secured in all the years that he has represented Gornal. And I think that is quite appropriate, as his time as mayor has ended, that he starts a new term with the full knowledge that he is Mr. Gornal, and the people of Gornal absolutely adore you and respect you, and that's why they've returned you with an absolutely thumping majority. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Zada.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got to get used to calling you Madam Mayor, haven't we? We've been so used to Mr. Mayor. And obviously, congratulations to the Deputy Mayor as well. Firstly, Madam Mayor, I wanted to follow on from your contribution and offer our condolences to all the people that have lost their lives and those people that have lost their lives in Dudley in the worst of circumstances, and those people that have not been able to be reunited with their family at the departure of their life. I wanted also to congratulate you for picking Dudley Mind as a charity. I don't think there is any more fitting tribute in terms of the number of people and the scores of people that I see in my professional life that are now inundating hospitals, suffering from mental health. And only this week I mentioned that to the Chief Executive and the Leader of the Council, and I think Dudley Mind does an outstanding job in terms of the services that it offers. I've been a long advocate, Madam Mayor, of mental health services, coming from a family who have suffered significant mental health themselves, and I know the parity of esteem against physical health is shocking, and I do wonder one day, and I pray one day, that we will end up in a position where if you have a mental health concern, it will be seen with the same level of significance as a physical health concern as well. And we all know the number of young people that are now suffering with mental health, and I'm glad that you're offering some opportunity for them to access some support. You'll have our side right behind you in offering whatever we can do. I was a little disappointed you didn't mention any of my skills when you were rattling off all of those things that people can do, so I'll have to find something that I can obviously do to contribute. But this is our borough, Madam Mayor. They're our people and they're our responsibility, and we need to now club together and do whatever we can to assist them. And I absolutely support your hope of bringing vision to the people of this borough, whom we all want to do our best for. I'd like to now move on to Councillor Stanley and his time in office. I want to thank Councillor Stanley because I think sometimes when you take on a duty as a mayor, you know when it will end. And I'm sure on this occasion he thought, when will this end? And I think his continuous extension of duties probably, I don't know how he personally felt about it, but what I can say is he took it with great stride. And I thank him for his fairness in an authority prior to this election, which was on the knife edge. I think he's renamed every single one of us on this side. I've started to call my colleague Eileen, and she now responds to Eileen. So thank you. I think it's a better name than Elaine. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for doing that. And over time, we'll have to try and learn their real names. I do want to say that what you've been able to do during the pandemic is not only conduct meetings in its normal fashion, but also conduct meetings and master technology, and technology that we've all had to learn with you. And I wanted to thank you personally for making that easy for us all. And you know that the levels of skills, technological advancement on this side differs across the borough. And I think being there and working your way through that. I also wanted to acknowledge the role of the Deputy Mayor, Hilary Bills, who we lost at election. I think you yourself, former Mr. Mayor, will accept the support that she gave you by your side during the time that she was there. And it is regrettable that obviously we haven't been able to see her through in terms, but I do congratulate Madam Mayor, who I believe will do an outstanding job for us on this side. And I'm delighted that the council as a whole has been able to recognise former councillor Hilary Bills in some way or other. I shan't be following your tour guide because I don't believe you know anywhere in the borough outside of Gornal. And so we'll stick to looking after the Netherden people, and you can carry on showing around people in Gornal in your own time. I obviously congratulate you for your victory, and pleased that you're here, albeit at the expense of some of our colleagues. But what I will say to you, Councillor Stanley, is one of the things I've really enjoyed with you being the mayor is to think about that we are not all politicians. We are people of this borough who we have interests beyond just political parties, and I've really respected the normal discussions we've been able to have and not necessarily the divisions that politics sometimes creates. So thank you, Councillor Stanley. My congratulations to the two of you, and I'm really looking forward to working with you over the next 12 months.
Does anyone else wish to speak regarding Councillor Stanley? Councillor Aston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to you on becoming the first citizen of our great borough. And I'm delighted to say a few words and share a story on behalf of one of Councillor Stanley's mayoral charities for the year just gone. As you may know, I'm currently serving as the area president for St John Ambulance in the Dudley area. And back in 2019, we arranged an abseil down the side of Dudley Castle to raise a few quid to fund a new public access defibrillator in Upper Gornal. And the Mayor was duly invited to say a few words and pose for a photo before the event. However, much to the horror of both the Mayor's attendant, Martin, and the company providing the kit, who no doubt could see the headlines, "Dudley Mayor falls off Dudley Castle," Councillor Stanley insisted on donning a harness and abseiling from the battlements himself. Suffice to say, he turned out to be a natural. The mayoral chain remained in one piece, and we got some fantastic publicity and raised enough to fund a defib. So, Councillor Stanley, on behalf of St John Ambulance and Her Majesty's Most Venerable Order of St John, we thank you for your support and wish you the very best for the future. Thank you.
No one else wishing to speak? Then I will just add my few words. It's been an absolute privilege and an honour to support Councillor David Stanley in his 2 years as the Mayor. He's a consummate gentleman. He's absolutely, to the letter, rigid with his protocol and procedures. He's knowledgeable. He knows everything about the Borough of Dudley, and what he doesn't know, he'll find out. I've told him time and time again that he needs to write a book, but he keeps telling me he hasn't got the time. Well, I think he needs to make the time, because we're going to lose some marvellous history if we don't get this down in writing. He has been an absolute gem to work with. He's got a wonderful sense of humour. Not everybody always sees that, but a very quirky sense of humour. And he's looked at with great respect in other boroughs, which I think is a wonderful thing. And as I say, I've been absolutely privileged to work with him. I've learnt a lot. I've watched how he does things, and I hope that I can follow on in his tradition. So I'd like for him to come forward and present him with his past mayor's badge. I don't put it round his... I don't put it... Right, there we go.
I think you just show it to me, don't you?
Well, I would if I could get it open. Here we go. There we go.
I've got a matching pair now.
Look at that. It's really nice. So, congratulations. I would like to invite Councillor Stanley, please, to say a few words.
Naturally, I've come prepared. Reduced to one sheet of paper. First of all, Madam Mayor, Leader of Opposition, Councillor Ashton, thank you very much for your kind words. Unfortunately, Leader, the Mayor of Dudley does not wear regalia. It's known as insignia. So please make a note for that in future. Thank you very much. Councillor Zard, you're okay. You were perfect. You didn't make any mistakes. Yeah, that day in Dudley Castle was the thing I got up in the morning, not expecting to do, and abseil down there. Believe it or not, I was wearing a pair of trousers similar to what I've got on, not these, but very similar to them, and they're a little bit tighter. My biggest fear coming down there was my trousers splitting. That's the only fear I had. I had no fear being at the top and coming down. It was just I thought, if my trousers split on the way down there, there's that many photographers about, I'm going to be really embarrassed. So I will do it again sometime, and hopefully I shall wear attire that is more suitable. I'd like now to, as it's customary by mayors at these events, or past mayors I should say, or former mayors or retiring mayors, you take your pick, to thank the team. And I would like to thank all the team in Kappa, administration, the press office, and of course special note to Miss Brownhill and Miss Rochester Jones, and of course Mrs Jones, for the way they've looked after me and stood up to the demands I've made over the last 2 years. Of course, I'm looking to see if I can find him, Mr Cox, the mayoral attendant. Oh, he's down the front. Mr Cox. A gentleman in every due respect. He knows which door I should go in, which I'll get out of, where I should stand, what I should do, what I should say. And 26 years he's been doing this job, so he ought to have the experience to do it. And I wish you all the best, Mr. Cox, for the next 26 years. Mr. Cox gained a lot of knowledge about the West Midlands. He worked for the National Health Service and he was a driver there. And there's not many places, whether it's Coventry, Birmingham, Solihull. He don't need a sat-nav. He just drives there. Absolutely excellent. Thank you, Mr. Cox, for looking after me for the last 2 years. Down the list now comes the consort. Yeah, well, that was a bit of a funny game at times. We had some very good times and attended quite a lot of events, and we brought hopefully a lot of pleasure to people when we did our usually performance. So I do thank you, Madam Mayor, for the support you gave me over the last 2 years, although the last 12 months probably hasn't been so great. But I'll come to that, if I may, in a few seconds, but thank you. I'd like to now thank all the officers of this authority for the kindness they've shown me. When you're doing the Mayor's job and you do your council work as well, there's people out there that are part of this group of officers of the council or tradesmen of the council, whatever the case may be, that if you ask for help, the help is always there. And the reason I mention this in particular, because I'd like to pay thanks to all the people employed by this authority, especially those that worked through on frontline services to keep our services going in the last 12 months. We got the bins emptied, we got the recycling done, we got all the jobs they expect us to do, they were all completed. So a great big thanks to all those people that are employed by this authority that maintain such a fine quality service during the last 12 months. The leaders had made reference to the election in Gornal. I would personally like to thank the good folks of Gornal for having the confidence in returning me back a fortnight ago to serve the community for a further 3 years. The citizens of this borough have been absolutely fantastic. Wherever I've gone, you have been made very, very welcome indeed. The respect they show to the civic side of this authority and the interest they show when you pay the visit is definitely second to none. On the notes I made very quickly, I noticed I attended a function last night, and I noticed on that function with the National Health Service, Russell's Hall Hospital, that one of our chief officers received an award. And I'd like to give my personal thanks to Matt Belsher for all that he'd done, and a well-deserved award. And it went down very, very well. Although it was a virtual one last night, you could feel the atmosphere there with all the people that received the awards. But I'd like to single out, if I possibly could, Mr. Belsher, well-deserved. I've covered the frontline staff. A little bit about myself for the new ones. I was the Deputy Mayor. I've been the Mayor 3 times, and I've served in these capacities for 4 years. But what you may talk about that, as the leader said, but one thing that I do want to mention, I've got another record on this council that's never spoken about. We took control of the group that I represented, and I'm not trying to be political, in the 1990s. And when we took control of the council, I was appointed chairman of the Environmental Health Committee. And we lost at the by-election 6 months later. So I was the shortest service chairman on history of the borough, and we checked the books. I've been chairman of the old Environmental Health Committee, and I was just chairman for 6 months. The by-election came, and the by-election was held at a quaint little shipping village known as Netherton, just outside the Dudley. And we lost the seat. In the process of lost the seat to Netherton, the council, it was Councillor Sam Davis at the time, and we lost Councillor Fred on. Unfortunately, he passed away 6 months after being re-elected back to the council. So there's something else you can add to my achievements. The shortest serving chairman of environmental health that the council's ever known. Lasted 6 months. Yes, I did, Leader, speak to Madam Mayor, if you don't mind addressing the Leader, if I could, to the newly elected members last Thursday. And one of the things I'd like to, if I could just point out, since last Thursday when I spoke to him, this is something that the Mayor has done since. He has visited Cornerstone Connect project in Pensnet at the church in High Oak. I visited an optician's in the deep south of the borough, a place called Howes Owen. That was quite pleasurable because the gentleman started the business, an independent optician, quite a number of years ago, and he decided to retire. And this young couple in the 20s, both qualified opticians, took the business over, and they're really going to town to make it a success. And I wish them all the success. What I've done, and I don't want to bore you all to death, but I did get this advert in while I've got the opportunity. I visited the Viking village. We have a Viking village, and a lot of people don't know much about it. It's between Gornal and Sedgley, a place called Cotswold End, on the nature reserve down there. And they've recreated this village going back to 860 the year. And they read the script, and I asked all sorts of questions, which you'd expect me to do, and I had an answer for everything. When you have the opportunity, don't miss the opportunity of visiting the Viking village in the borders of Gornal and Sedgley. Education-wise for our kids, it's absolutely fantastic. As recently as yesterday, I was just slightly out of the borough, doing 2 jobs down there. The first one was with the Richardson, Roy Richardson, because he's been a very ardent supporter of all 3 military services. So yesterday was welcomed by and I'll get it in the right order, the Navy, Army and Air Force. They turned out in force. Roy just celebrated his 91st birthday, and he's making a substantial donation to the 3 services for what he supports and the amount of donations he's made over quite a number of years. But I walked out of there with a cheque as a substantial amount for the Mayor's charity, so it was well worthwhile going. I was asked for the second time to do the International Day against homophobia, transphobia and biphobia, and that was recent as a few days ago. Another event that I found extremely interesting, and I thank Councillor Ashton and Councillor Kesey for the way they organised that on behalf of the authority, and I don't think I'll let you down, and it's not just what we expected with the attendance, but at least the point was made, and I think the message has been sent out good and truly. Really speaking, looking back to 2019, 2020, there was very little in the way of engagements, apart from engagements with what they call virtual. I did do a few, some probably unofficially, that was best not for the staff to know about, but I carried them out to the best of my ability. The only way I can summarise the last 2 years is I've had a lovely time, and also we continue talking about it and boring to death with it for a long time to come. There's a gentleman sitting in the room, I'm not going to mention him, he made a visit last few days ago, beginning part of this week. And I started off when he came to the doors of the council house by going back to the days of the 2nd of December 1935, when the present at that time was the Duke of Kent, and what happened at the opening. Then we went to there on various places. And after 2 hours, seriously, after 2 hours, both the gentlemen concerned said, we've got to go now because we've had the free parking's expired. So I said, you have to come back for part 2 when you're ready. One of the other important things to do, and I'm going to summarise and finish at this. Dudley's been very fortunate with his neighbours of acquiring through the good services of the finest keeper of geology in the world, Graham Wharton, that's the Dudley Keeper of Geology, and getting us set up as a UNESCO site, a World Heritage Site. What we've got in the borough, we have geologists from all over the world come and admire. On the Mayor's badge of office, right in the centre, is the trilobite. That fossil has been with us for over 400 million years. One of the other things I enjoy doing is being chairman of the Friends of Sedgley Beacon, and I'm sure the Sedgley Council won't mind me saying that, is to be standing there and looking over the whole of the borough and looking out to the east towards the Ural Mountains in Russia, because we are the next highest point to those. So it's been a fantastic year. There's a lot more I could say. I'm going to put the paper down. Thank you all very much, but I can only say this to each and every one of you. I wouldn't have achieved this if I had not had the support from you to put me in this position to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stanley, and then I have to call on you to perform one last duty, which is to present the consort, the past consort, with her badge.
Well, that's some whispering there, because I think the message was, you know what I mean, because we're still going through this system of what we should do and we shouldn't do. I'll just formally present it to you like that and say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Right. We move on now to agenda item 5 on the main agenda, which is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence? Thank you. Thank you. That is noted. Agenda item 6, minutes. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of April 2021 be approved as a correct record and signed. Does the council agree? Aye. That is carried. Members of the council, the Mayor's consort this year is my youngest son, Jack Millward, who I believe is sitting somewhere at the back. And Jack will accompany me as and when he can, obviously with the constraints of work, and I know that he will be a great help to me. The Deputy Mayor's consort is Desmond Greenaway, who I know will be a big help to Sue. I've mentioned the charity appeals before. I'm going to mention now that the at-home event will take place on a date to be arranged. Armed Forces Day will be on the 27th of June, and the Freedom of the Borough Garden Party will be at Himley in the afternoon of the 9th of July. The Mayor's charity cricket match is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Friday the 9th of July at the Memorial Ground in Amblecote, Stourbridge, and all members who wish to play can contact Councillor Hanif by email or mobile phone. And if I can ask that, because I want to play obviously for the members, if I can go into bat first, and then I'll help sell the raffle tickets. The Black Country Music Festival event will be at Himley on the 11th of July. And the date of the official mayor-making dinner and Freedom / Alderman event will be advised at a time that we know that we will all be safe to carry out that event. Now, at this point, I would like to mention and welcome the new members, and 2 members who are returning after a break in service, namely councillors Phil Atkins, Dan Bevan, Dave Borley, James Clinton, Rob Clinton, Rebecca Collins, Damien Caulfield, Adam Davis, Peter Dobb, Stuart Henley, Natalie Neal, Cameron Razak, Shaz Salim, Wayne Sullivan and Mark Westwood. Welcome to the council, and I know that you will work hard to represent your constituents in your wards that have put you there. I'd also like to pay tribute as well to the service given to the following former councillors, who were not re-elected on the 6th of May. Asif Ahmed, Hilary Bills, Kieran Casey, Serena Craigie, John Martin and Gay Partridge. I'd like to put on record my thanks to all of those councillors. We all of us know what sacrifices we make to do this job and the hard work that has been put in by these councillors, and I too know the bitter taste of defeat. So, you know, I say to them, go away, have a rest. We don't know, one day we may see you again. Does any other member wish to speak following that, what I've just said regarding former councillors? Councillor Stanley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Naturally, I would like to rise and thank former Councillor Hilary Bills. I was with her for the last 2 years. We worked very well together. I was sad to see the loss of it, the election, but together we worked, and we worked purely for the borough and for the good citizens and folk of the borough. So I pay all due respects to Councillor Bills and thank her, although she's not present this evening, for accompanying me on various occasions and being able, from two, I'm going to use politics again, from two political parties working together hand in hand, and I mean that quite sincerely. I enjoyed my time with former Councillor Bills, and of course, naturally, like a lot of other people in here, extremely, how can I put it, that she didn't get re-elected or even become the mayor. She tried hard, but at the end it wasn't to be. But without making too much more comment along that line, I do thank her formally for the support she gave me. Another colleague that I served with, and he was my deputy chairman on the community forum, was Councillor Casey. And Councillor Casey served the good folk of Upper Gornal over a long period of time. And I know that he's already missed by Councillor Ashton, and because half the workload is already gone there. So I do pay tribute to Kieran Casey. From a former neighbour, lives in the same street, Councillor Craigie. Councillor Craigie and myself, although opposition, we got on very well together. We both used the same garage site, so we used to speak very often and reminisce about various things. And of course, John Martin. John Martin has been known to me when he was a Conservative. He was known to me when he was Lib Dem, and he was known to me when he joined the Labour Party. So my time with John Martin over the years goes back a long, long time. And I'll get let you a little secret. All those years ago, when you look at your books to see when I first got elected, he was one of my workers when I first got elected in Gornal, believe it or not. So really, I must say something in his favour. Gal Partridge, what a character. Yeah, she was housing for a certain period of time, and the deputy mayoral, the Madam Mayoral realised that she came out to Gornal on numerous occasions where we got problems. She was very useful and very, very helpful in lots of things. So I do really pay tribute to the loss of those councillors. What the leader's going to say to me afterwards, I do not know. I've got broad enough shoulders to take it. But I think anyone that's done service deserves recognition. And at that, I'll sit down.
Thank you. Councillor Zarda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, start with obviously congratulating and welcoming the new councillors to the council. But I do want to spend my time talking about those councillors, certainly on our side, that are missing tonight. And I feel quite strongly about this, and I've spoken about this week as well, and hopefully we're going to do something about this. With every win, obviously, there's a loss on the other side. And for many of those people, and certainly we will all recognise the characters that have left us this time, they've spent, on some occasions, decades representing this authority, some on and off, some with continuous service. And whatever the outcome of the election, sometimes, obviously, it's not their doing, and it can be outside of their efforts are the reason why they don't make it here. One of the things that this authority needs to get right is how we support them after they leave. Turning off their email address 2 days after is no way of supporting departing colleagues who have been with us for 10, 20 years. I think it is unfair the way that we treat our colleagues, and if they were employees, we would be thinking of a more gracious and dignified departure. I have put forward my ideas to the Leader of the Council and the Chief Executive, and I know the Chief Executive this afternoon has passed that on to do something about it. And I'm not just championing the colleagues that I've lost on my side, because I'm hoping what I will say will be of benefit to those on the opposite side when in due course they're in a similar position. We have spoken this evening about people's mental health, and I know that I have spoken to some colleagues who are really down in the dumps and trying to find ways of managing this situation, and we need to find a way. This authority has a duty of care to these colleagues, and we need to work collectively to support them. I know from my own experience, and I know I'm not unique in this, that I steal time away from my family to represent my constituents. And I have to make a whole set of excuses for various different things that I end up doing and managing my time with my own family. And we all know that we end up missing very, very precious moments because we have a duty and an obligation in public service. It's something we choose to do. We accept that with this comes the day that one day you may not be here. But I feel very strongly about this, and one of the things I will be looking to this authority to do is find proper ways that we can support our colleagues in a departure that is not as abrupt that I have seen over the time. So thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do hope that we will resolve this. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Crompton. Get the mic to you.
I've got to say, Councillor Stanley is not the only one that calls her Gail. I think the majority of her constituents know her as Gail. And they know her because she's been in that community all of her life. Not just the past 21 or 22 years. I can't quite remember when she got elected. I think it was a year before myself. But her family and herself have been stalwarts of the Labour Party since she's been a child. She lives in Balds Lane in Lye, which, if anybody knows it, is an area where we have quite distinct deprivation around her. And she is known by many in that community. It's a very diverse community, and she's able to speak with people from very diverse backgrounds. And one thing I want to say tonight is that some people say, we've lost her. No, we haven't. She's still there, and she'll still be doing the same things that she was doing as a councillor. And actually, she said to me, I think it was yesterday, when I spoke to her, she said, actually, I'm free to do those things how I want to do them now, aren't I? And she'll be back. I have no concerns about that whatsoever. She will continue to fight for the things that we need so desperately in that community. We hear so much, don't we, about the problems facing Lye, the difficulties we have with the very poor housing in that area, the disgraceful dirtiness of some of the areas around there, some of the stories, and I'm sure some of you have walked around Lye on both sides of this, the chamber, as we might call it. You've gone around Lye and you've spoken to people, or people have spoken to you, about the real dangers that we have down there at the moment. We've got a terrible amount of littering that takes place, which of course brings down the area, doesn't it? We've got an awful lot of people from very, very different countries with very, very different customs who don't understand ourselves. And I know that Gay, when I've been walking around with her over these past few weeks in that area, has been able to point to that place there where we think there might be 20 people living in a house. That place there where we know, actually, that they're probably being charged 25, 30 quid a room each per night, and there may be 20 people in that house. We know we've got those problems. Our problem is we don't know how to tackle them. And I know that Gay will still continue to work to tackle those problems for us. So I'd like to pay my tributes to Gay. I'd love to pay my tributes to everybody else who sadly lost their seats. I always say, it wasn't because of them. We're in the vagaries, aren't we, of a national political system that causes these problems. And at the moment, we have a party that simply ain't what the people want, you know? And the Tory party is a party that the people want at the moment. But it's not, as Cadder says, these people have spent an awful lot of time, given an awful lot within their communities, and we should look up to them for what they've done. And as Cadder said, some people, Gay isn't one of them, but some of them might be suffering quite badly at the moment. Gay isn't. She's able to spend a little bit more time with her elderly mum and dad and her elderly mother-in-law, all of whom are getting to that age where we have problems. So I'd like to say my thanks to Gay for all the years of service she's done.
Thank you, Councillor Crompton. Councillor Richard Boddy.
I thank you, Madam Mayor. I too am up here to pay tribute to Gay. What I think a lot of you aren't aware of is, and I know Gay wouldn't really want me to say this, but I need you to know this. She would give away a lot of her money in the ward to charities in the ward, to groups in the ward, and they knew nothing about it because it was always anonymous. That is the type of person that Gay was. She cared so much for the ward, but she didn't want anybody to know. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillors Crumpton and Boddy, and thank you, Councillor Zarda. I was very heartened to hear what you had to say. As I mentioned earlier, I'd lost my seat in 2011, and I took part in a report, a study by the LGA and the Open University in losing political office. It's a very detailed report. It interviewed many people, MPs, leaders of councils, councillors, of the aftermath of what happens when you lose, and it was on a Friday I lost my seat, and by the Sunday you no longer existed. Your emails were gone, your money was cut off, and as we pay tax and insurance, we're entitled to, well, we were at the time, to sign on. Not that I did, because I wanted a rest and there was no way I was going out looking for a new job. I'd had it up to here, to be fair. But it does impact on your mental health. You may not realise it at the time. It might hit you 12 months later. But it does impact, and I'm living proof of that. So we need to look into that issue and to realise that it really can affect people. So I welcome that we will be looking at that particular issue. So we move on. Agenda item 8. Are there any declarations of interest under the Members' Code of Conduct? Councillor Phipps, you are taking my place. Agenda item 9. The Leader of the Council, I move that the report be received and noted. Is that seconded? Thank you. Does the Council agree? That is carried. Agenda item 10, appointment and membership of the Cabinet, committees and community forums for 2021-22 and related matters. I call on the Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members of the Council, I move that the recommendations in the report concerning the appointment, composition and membership of the Cabinet, committees, community forums and related matters for 21-22, together with the details set out in the list circulated at the meeting, be approved and adopted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that seconded? Thank you. Does the Council agree? That is carried. Agenda item 11, Constitution and Scheme of Delegation. I call on the Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members of the Council, I move that the recommendations in the report be approved and adopted.
Is that seconded? Does the council agree? That is carried. Agenda item 12, programme of meetings for 2021-22. I call on the leader.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I move that the proposal set out in the report be approved and adopted.
Is that seconded? Does the council agree? That is carried. Agenda item 13, appointments, nominations to other bodies. I call on the leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I move the proposal set out in the report be approved and adopted.
Is that seconded? Does the council agree? That is carried. There is no urgent business, so that concludes the business of the annual meeting of the council. Thank you all for your attendance and have a very safe journey home. Good evening.